Hi, my name is Drew and I'm going to be walking you through the hose Mammoth today. Starting right up front here, front corner, you'll see that we have jacks on all four corners of the unit. Now when it does come to loading and unloading, you are going to want to utilize the swing out feature of the jacks, which is going to extend the stance on the front. So before you start running the jack down, we're going to push up on this. That's going to free float this, and we will then push that back down here, and we'll do that to the other side. Of course, that is going to give you enough room to clear the hips of the dually there. Very important that you do swing those brackets out before trying to unload it. Of course, you're not going to be able to make it out without doing that. Also, on each jack, maybe a little hard to see, we'll have a little rubber plug up top here. If we were to pull that rubber plug out there, that's going to expose a 3/8 drive, 3/8 sized drive. You'll use a 3/8 ratchet and extension, and you could operate each of these jacks manually in the event that you would need to you'd have a power loss situation or something like that. Normal operation, you're going to use the wireless remote. Orientation of that remote is going to be from the rear. Here a little bit later, or at the end of this presentation, we're going to do a small segment on the operation of that remote and what you should expect when it comes to that. Other than that, moving right along here, starting I guess up top here, we have your black tank dump valve and bayonet fitting here. Now, something you want to keep in mind here with the BLACKWATER tank specifically is this valve, as it sits now, it is in the closed position. You'll want to leave it in the closed position anytime you are using the camper. Anytime you're hooked up to full-time septic, that's going to be in the closed position. You only dump as necessary. So you're going to use the monitor panel on the inside, keep track of that level, and then again, only dump as necessary. Reason being is for that solid body waste, we want to keep that in as wet or flowing condition as we can. When it comes to hooking up your septic hose, you are going to see you have two keyholes on either side of this. You'll put that in the halfway position of those studs. Give it a quarter turn, so it should be something like that. Give it a quarter turn, that's going to lock it right on. And again, this valve is going to remain closed until it comes time to dump. Now, right beside that, in conjunction with this bayonet fitting and blade X valve, you have a black tank flush here. What that black tank flush does is that corresponds with a jet inside the BLACKWATER tank, specifically designed to help blast off compounded toilet waste, body waste, things like that. Biggest limitation to this black tank flush, however, is the fact that there is no check valve. There's nothing physical to keep that water from overflowing that BLACKWATER tank. So what that means is if water was left in, flowing into this indefinitely, the path of least resistance is, believe it or not, the rooftop septic vents. So what I recommend my customers, if you are by yourself, do not allow water to rush in here for more than 5 minutes without relieving the pressure here. If you have somebody with you, they can of course watch the monitor panel on the inside, watch that level fill up on the display, holler at you to go ahead and relieve the pressure here and dump as necessary. Now, best suited is going to be doing this every single time you bring the unit back in for storage or before leaving the campsite. You go ahead and make use of that black tank flush. It's going to help with any compounding issues of body waste, toilet waste, things like that. We have your furnace vent here. Biggest thing with that is going to be just let it breathe. This is your exhaust. You do want to make sure that there's nothing restricting that flow. The location of this would kind of make that hard to do or hard to put something up in front of it. But again, just a reminder to keep it free breathing. Biggest thing with these propane burning appliances is going to be the problems with intrusion of mud daubers and flying insects, things like that. So for not only the furnace, but all of the propane burning appliances, we do want to make sure we use some screening material to cover these orifices and keep them from nesting inside. Other than that, again, just let it breathe, keep the mud daubers from nesting in there, and it should stay in great shape for you. Coming down underneath the slide out here, on the underside of the wing, we have your city water connection. That's what you're going to utilize if you are in the capacity of an RV park or you have access to full-time running water. We're going to use that city water connection. When we talk about that city water connection, water pressure is very important. It is very important to maintain a water pressure in between 40 and 75 psi. This specific water pressure regulator is going to be in between 40 and 50 psi, which is generally the standard. Now, if you have the need for a higher water pressure, you can either use an adjustable water pressure regulator, high flow water pressure regulator. Those are, of course, an option, but again, keep that water pressure below 75 psi. Now, this water pressure regulator is going to hook up as closely to the water source as you can. So you're going to hook this directly onto the spigot, and then your hose onto that. And then, of course, you connect your hose to the trailer bound connection by, again, rotating that connection here. So, again, you'll use that anytime you are in an RV park or do have access to full-time running water. Now, this is of the utmost importance. So always want to run a water pressure regulator. They are easily sourced out there in the wild. Any place that has an RV aisle or any RV dealer supplier is going to have a water pressure regulator. Definitely do not want to use the unit for any amount of time without a regulator in place. And again, this is probably going to be the best angle to show you the gray water bayonet valve down there. Same premise as the BLACKWATER. They do just separate the plumbing on this specific unit. That is the transition for the gray water dump valve, and your blade X valve is right here. So we have the bayonet fitting underneath, and then we have the gray valve there. Again, same kind of rule of thumb, although it is not overly important on whether or not you leave this open or closed. There's no solid waste in there. You don't have any flow issues like you do with the BLACKWATER tank when it does come to the gray. One kind of thing to think about is kind of treat the gray and the BLACKWATER tank almost like a vacuum lock. So you don't want to have both of these valves in the open position at the same time. So either dump one at a time, and then once it's through, go ahead and close the other one before moving on to the next one. Also in this generator compartment, we of course have an outside shower. Gives you access to hot and cold water here. A little hanger there for the nozzle. Again, nothing too crazy with that. A couple 15 amp outlets there. And then we have your jack board. We'll talk about this again at kind of a second part of this presentation where we'll just talk about the jacks on their own with the remote. But just so you know, location wise, that is your jack activation switch. That's going to sync the remote with the board, things like that. Then to the right of that, we have your cable satellite inlets. What this means is you can utilize these RG6 cable fittings for, an aftermarket satellite package, part cable service. Essentially, those are the inlet of those services. They will pass through to the designated TV area of the camper. Generator here, of course, most of the time your operation is going to be from the inside. There is an auxiliary switch, so you don't have to come out to start that up. But the reason that I have this cover off here today, and we'll see if we can get this up on camera, is underneath this power switch here, there is a breaker. And it's going to be very hard to get that on film, but it's a up and down light switch style breaker. Now that is your outputting power breaker. Reason for me to point that out to you is because it is a soft breaker, meaning that it is just not very much tension in the breaker itself. So what often happens to our customers is they'll be going down the road, they hit a bump, that's enough to actually trip that breaker. They get to the campsite, they go to start their generator, it runs fine, starts up fine. However, that is the outputting power breaker, so it doesn't of course do its job. So the generator will start up and run just fine, but it's not going to output any power. A very common issue, if that does happen to you, more than likely it is that breaker, so just keep that in mind. Again, you do have this power switch here. We're not going to talk much about that right now. Of course, the switch on the inside is going to be the very same thing, and you probably will not be accessing that switch very often. Sewage hose storage here, just a little cubby that you can go ahead and feed your sewage hose in, keep you from having to store it with any of your other stuff, which is of course a nice setup. 30 amp, 110 volt power supply here. This is your cord, comes with the unit, is 25 feet in length, only plugs into the camper one way. So if we go ahead and unplug this, you can see it is only going to be accommodated one way. So once we go ahead, we plug it straight in. Once we're lined up correctly, we plug it straight in, give it a 1/8 inch turn to the right there, that locks it in. Then we do have this secondary collar here to screw down, lock it in further. Keep somebody from tripping over it, something like that. A couple things to speak of further is, of course, my #1 recommendation I make for any unit that I deliver is going to be the addition of a 30 amp surge protector. That is something you're going to want to further invest in. That plugs in between the power source and the unit. So that's going to plug directly into the power source at the park, and then your cord in line with that. And again, is very, very important when it does come to campers. You do need to protect them from substandard wiring, dirty power, things like that. Also, we do give you a 30 to 15 amp reducer. That's helpful if you want to go ahead and plug the unit, say, into your garage, check the function of things before going out on the road, maybe pre-cool the refrigerator. This 30 to 15 amp reducer is helpful for that. If you want to do much more than that, I would encourage you to upgrade to a dog bone style reducer. Does the exact same thing, but is a little bit more heavy duty, is going to dissipate heat a lot better. You'll find that it'll work better than this puck style, but this works well for pre-cooling the refrigerator, things like that. Oh, lost my microphone there. Coming around here to the back side, we have your batteries. You have two Group 24 batteries here. These are deep cycle interstate batteries. Biggest thing with this is going to be good general battery maintenance. What that is going to entail is 2 or 3 times a year, we're going to pull these vent panels off of each battery. We're going to inspect the water level, and we're going to refill with distilled water as necessary. So there's a clear marked water line in there, and we do just want to maintain that water line. We're going to kind of hop over here to the entry door real quick, and I'm going to show you the battery disconnect switch. It's going to be this guy here. That is going to be a part of your maintenance with the batteries. Anytime the unit is going to be in storage, we want to go ahead and disconnect the battery. If you can go ahead and remove this key, you would be disconnecting the battery. That is again going to be only for storage. So what that's going to do is keep you from having to physically disconnect those battery terminals, going to keep any nominal or phantom draws off of the system and keep those batteries again in tip-top shape. Large basement storage compartment here. We'll start with the drawer. It does come out, does have a kind of safety pin there, and then you have a release button here. Once you release that, again, this does come out. You can load it up with your gear. Is a extremely convenient feature there. Kind of starting at the rear of this compartment all the way back, what you have there is going to be your inverter. That black box is going to be the inverter. That's going to be how you run your TVs in this specific unit. That's going to switch your 12 volt power over to 110 volt. So you do have access to some of those appliances off grid. The silver box right beside that, that's going to be your transfer relay box. That has to do with the generator. That's how it's going to automatically switch from shore power to generator power. The gray box right beside that is going to be your jack board, your physical jack board location. Now, at some point during use or owning the camper, there are inline fuses on that board, and you will probably at some time have to change those fuses. So again, just keep in mind there are fuses in there. They are clearly marked to score corresponding with what jack they operate. And if you do have any problems with these jacks, of course, that's going to be your number one location. The silver box beside that one is going to be your converter. And of course, that works very similar to the inverter, except for the exact opposite. So that switches 110 volt over to 12 volt, going to help keep those batteries charged, run those 12 volt appliances again when you're on shore power. And beside there, we have your not only your water pump, but we have your dump valves here. I'm going to come around you this way. And so of course we have your water pump here. Now, if you are doing a full winterization process of the unit, what that would entail is going to be draining all of the water from the unit and replacing or filling the plumbing with an RV grade antifreeze. Of course, that process is going to be kind of like a 3-point process. You'll drain the freshwater holding tank if it's been in use. That's going to be this valve down here. Probably, again, hard to pick up on camera, but it is labeled here. So you can, if you see that label, it is the valve closest to that label. That's how you're going to dump that freshwater tank. If it's been in use, is the only time it needs to be drained. Next up, we're going to come here to the low point drains. Those are the lowest point in the unit's plumbing. So everything in between water source and fixture is going to be drained via those two valves. So those are going to be the next stop. Lastly, you would want to drain the water heater separately. Of course, we haven't got to that part of this presentation yet, so we will, of course, once we get to the other side of the camper, we'll talk about that, but just keep in mind that's going to be your kind of last stop. Now, once we dump these valves, we are then going to, once we drain all the water from the unit, we are then going to introduce antifreeze into the system. And we're going to do that utilizing this white hose here. If we trace that white hose back to the valve closest to that white hose, we would turn that into the on position. We would stick this white hose directly into a bottle of RV grade antifreeze. From there, we're going to, of course, power on the water pump. We're going to walk around from fixture to fixture. We're going to turn each fixture on, and we are going to let it run until we see that antifreeze come from the fixture. Maybe a few seconds to fill up the P-traps on the way out, and that's it. Once you see that pink, you do know you're fully winterized. Other than that, you get a light in here. We do have a GFI switch here. This is and we'll confirm this on the inside. I do not believe that this is the main GFI switch, but it is important to point out that you may have to reset this. And again, I'll confirm this on the inside. I'm not 100% sure if this is the main GFI or specifically how host does it, but it is a GFI and it may need reset, so it is a good thing to point out there. Here on the rear, of course, we have your rooftop ladder access here. Can only be accessed when the slide is in, of course. We have your backup camera, things like that. That monitor will be paired in your vehicle. The way that the backup cameras work on these units is they're actually rear view cameras. So they are going to be, anytime your lights are on or powered on, you are going to have a rear view of your camera, or rear view of your camper, I should say. So again, going to have its own service manual. If you have any questions on how to pair that, if it's not paired when you do come pick up your unit, let us know and we'll go ahead and get it taken care of for you. Below that ladder in the slide, we have your propane compartment here. You have two 30-pound propane tanks in there. A tension band holds those on. So if we were to release that tension band, and then of course we unscrewed the fittings here, we could go ahead and pull those tanks out to get them filled or maintenance, anything like that. That's how it's going to go. We have a switchover regulator here. If it is orientated like it is now towards the right, we're going to be drawing off this front tank here. If I were to switch it over to this side, we'd be drawing off the rear tank in that compartment. Now in between here, or in the center there, we have a little indicator. As you can see, it is green right now. What that is indicating is we do have propane flowing through the line. It doesn't tell you how much you have, but it does tell you that you have some. So if we were totally out of propane gas, it's going to switch over to red. And again, nothing too crazy with that. This does have automatic switchover on this regulator. So if you have both of those tanks open, on the valves on the top, if you have both of those valves open, you use the entirety of one tank, it will automatically switch over to the next without you physically switching it over here. So just something to keep in mind. Also, we have a little quick connect valve here. They put those there in the system. They're designed for any high flow propane appliance, any gas grills, any propane heaters, propane fireplaces. You can go ahead and utilize this guy here for that. It does have a locking collar, so you slide that collar back, you insert the male end fully. Once you are fully inserted, you're going to go ahead and turn the valve on just like any valve. If you're with the flow, you're on. Against the flow, you're off. If you are in that on position, you cannot connect or disconnect. So kind of a secondary safety feature there. So just keep that in mind. And again, you can utilize that for any high flow propane appliance. Coming around here, shut the door for now. Kind of your standard RV style handrail, locks in the out position. You would lift up and in this case fold it against the camper for travel. That's going to keep everything nice and taut. And then we come down here to the step and you fold the bottom step up first and then the second step over, and then it kind of does a spin and gets flush, held up in there flush. Now on the way out, they do give you a nice handle. You can go ahead and pull that and it does kind of work itself out the way it's supposed to. Furthermore, here on the outside, we of course have your awning, which will show you the switch there of that on the inside. We have your outside speakers. We'll talk about that a little bit on the inside as well. And then we have your 6-gallon water heater here, and we have your refrigerator here. So we're going to start with the water heater here. As you remember me talking, when it comes to draining it, you're going to be draining the water heater separately. So what that is going to entail is, of course, you're going to give it ample time to cool down, a lot longer than you may think. 8 hours, I would recommend, just to be safe. Once you are fairly confident that it has cooled down, we are going to depressurize it and drain it. Now, it is very, very important that we depressurize it before we try and drain it. To depressurize it, you have a couple options. You can either utilize the pressure relief valve here. This is a spring valve here, so we would just lift this up. And we're going to do so carefully because, again, it is under pressure here. Can make a mess. It can be slightly sketchy. So that is an option. However, it's probably not the best option. So what you'll use is you can just walk into the camper and use a hot side of any spigot. You could even use the hot side of the outside shower, the hot side of the kitchen fixture. Any of those will do. We're just going to open that up. Of course, first we're going to cut the flow of water to the unit so we don't have any new water being introduced into the system. We're going to cut flow to the unit. We're going to depressurize it by opening up the hot side of the spigot, or again, utilizing the pressure relief valve here. Once that pressure is relieved, we are then and only then safe to come down here and remove the drain plug. That's an 1 1/8" drain plug. You'll use a ratchet and extension to go ahead and drain that and to loosen that and drain it. Now keep in mind, if we have forgotten to depressurize the water heater, that drain plug is under immense pressure. If we go and try and take that out before we before we depressurize the water heater, it's going to spit that drain plug and anode rod 20 feet that way, and hopefully you're not in front of it. So very, very important from a safety standpoint to make sure that we do depressurize the water heater. And again, we are going to be draining the water heater anytime the unit's going to be in storage for more than 7 days. This is kind of the last stop on that 3-point process of purging all the water from the system. And it is very important to keep things nice and fresh that we do drain it as well. So on the flip side of that conversation, the manufacturer recommends that you prime the water heater before using it. Of course, if you're following the previous recommendation, it's going to be empty when you start your trip, and it is very important that we introduce 6 gallons of water into the unit before trying to heat it. So that's going to sound very similar to the depressurizing of it, but first we're going to introduce water to the system. So we need water flowing into the unit as a whole, then ultimately into the unit. So we're gonna either hook up a city water connection or put water in the tank and use the water pump to pump water into this. So once we have water hooked up to the unit, we're again going to utilize the hot side of any fixture to feed water to the unit. So again, just turn the hot side of the fixture on. That flow is initially going to be very airy, very spitty. Reason being is, of course, it's before you see that water at the fixture, it's pumping it through the water heater. So as it runs, that flow is going to normalize. Once that flow normalizes, that is your indicator that you are full of water here, or that the water heater is full, and you can go ahead and utilize it or run it normally. Also, I may go without saying, but this is your drain plug as well. We talked about it as its drain plug function just a few seconds ago. It kind of pulls double duty. It's also your anode rod. So what that means is it's a 3/4 inch by 12 inch piece of magnesium. Acts like a magnet for hard water deposits, calcification, things like that. So what I'm getting at is it is a consumable part. I would expect to get a year or two in between changing your anode rod, and you should be well aware of the condition of it, because again, you're going to be staring at it every time you drain the water heater. And again, you should drain the water heater anytime the unit's going to be in storage for more than 7 days. When it does come to replacing that anode rod, you're going to replace the drain plug at the same time. It is sold as one whole assembly, and it is available at any RV dealer or parts house. This is a dual source water heater. Runs on 12-volt ignition with propane as your source. Also runs on straight 110-volt electricity, or both. So when we get to the inside and talk about the switches, we'll kind of we'll talk about recharge rates and things like that. But that's your water heater. And again, very important that we protect this this grating and these orifices from mud dauber intrusion. So screening these off further is definitely recommended. They will most definitely make their nest in the water heater, leaving it inoperable. Back of your refrigerator here, again, from a maintenance standpoint, not too terribly much you're going to be doing from this back side of the unit. All your controls are going to be on the front side, short of giving you a visual inspection a couple times a year. Make sure nothing's gotten in. Of course, again, screening these off to keep any flying insects out is definitely recommended. Further than that, you do just want to make sure that your hose is routed towards the grate. That way any condensation from the inside of the ice box will then drain from that location there. Just making sure we haven't missed anything, and we do have your water fill here in the front. Slightly strange location, but very usable. That's how you're going to fill the onboard water tank. So before you get to where you're going, if you're doing some dry camping, you're going to take that off. You're going to stick a garden hose directly in there. You're going to fill it up till it overflows. Once it overflows, go ahead and cap it off. This is non-pressurized water, so there's nothing in line to pressurize it like city water is, of course, pressurized directly from the line. So we have an onboard water pump. We saw that in the basement compartment. We're going to use that water pump to draw that water up to the fixtures and make it usable. So this would be your off-grid option. Of course, the city water connection is going to be your on-grid option. So, maintenance-wise, Clint brought up a very good point. Every 90 days, you are going to need to do a maintenance inspection. What that is going to entail is on the body, anywhere where two pieces come together, you can see here with this molding, you have a nice long silicone run there. And that again goes anywhere where two pieces come together. Now what we're going to do is every 90 days we're going to inspect all of those seals and we are going to touch up as necessary. So any degradation, any cracking, anything like that, we do need to go ahead and maintain those. You're going to use a 100% silicone product here on the outside. It looks like they pretty much use white for the whole thing. So stock up on some white silicone to help maintain these. Of course, the point of doing a 90-day inspection is to catch any degradation immediately and again, repair as quickly as we can. On the roof, again, very same maintenance schedule, but we're going to use a different product instead of silicone. We are going to use a RV grade lap sealant, and that is self-leveling. So any cracking, any peeling there up on the roof, we're going to use that. We're going to kind of, like I like to say, paint it with a wide brush essentially. So we're going to apply that stuff pretty heavily on any of those problem areas, and again, you're going to be inspecting that every 90 days. Also, there is going to be some maintenance on the slide outs, and what that's going to entail for this particular slide out, and we'll go through them all, is this gearing on the underside. We'll want to make sure that's well lubricated. So we're going to use a lithium grease and spray that or apply that here onto the gearing. Again, we're going to do that once every 90 days. We're going to run the slide in and out. And that's fine for the 90 days when it comes to the gearing. Now, we also have seals that run all the way around the slide out, inside and out. We're going to use a seal conditioner to keep that rubber nice and supple, keep everything from drying out. And we're going to do our best to again apply that all the way around. It might get tricky when you get to the top with the slide topper there, but do your best to, of course, distribute that conditioner as well as you can. And again, you're going to do that every 90 days. Follow the directions of the can. Now I'm just going to walk around real quick, make sure we are not running any different kind of slide systems on this. But again, you got your same tracks here. You have two on this one, so we're going to want to, again, use the lithium grease on that and the steel conditioner here. And same with this one. So you got your same Happy Jack system here with the tracks. So can of lithium grease, can of steel conditioner, and of course your white silicone and your lap sealant for the roof. Those are all products you're going to need to maintain this to the manufacturer's recommendations. So this is your jack remote. Now we talked about how to operate these jacks in the manual state or in the event of a power loss situation. Now this is your remote. Your orientation of these buttons is going to be from the rear. So looking at this, we have your driver side front, passenger side, or excuse me, driver side front, driver side rear, passenger side front, passenger rear, or all at the same time. Now before this becomes usable, we need to, of course, open up this compartment, and we go ahead and we hit that switch here until we see that green button, and that's all we have to do. Now we are connected wirelessly. If I hit all of those jack buttons, that's going to run those all down. And then we can do, again, each of those individually to operate them. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you are lifting this to either load it or unload it, number one, we want to keep the front slightly higher than the rear. Of course, it makes sense that the front is unsupported and front heavy, so we want to keep the front slightly higher than the rear. This camper should never be up in the air for longer than it takes to load it or unload it. So that is, the higher it gets, the more unstable it gets, and it is very important that we have it in the raised position for as little bit of time as we can. Now, that's how you operate this remote wirelessly. Now, say this runs out of batteries and you need to still use this. On the inside, you're going to find a 3.5 millimeter, looks like a headphone cord. It is a communication cord. You'll see the headphone jack there and a headphone jack here. We're going to use that cord and plug that directly into the board there, and that's only if this runs out of batteries. Now, say that you were by chance to lose this is gone out of the picture. There's an emergency only remote included in the unit as well. Same remote, looks exactly the same. It's red in color. What you would then, so the only difference between that remote and this remote, other than the color, is the fact that that emergency remote does not have a battery in it. It can only run being physically plugged into the unit. Now, if both of those remotes are gone or not working, or there is some sort of problem with the jack board, communicating with the jacks or something like that, then you are going to have to operate them manually, again with a 3/8 extension and ratchet there. And that's the jack board there. If you have any questions, we can kind of talk about that when you come here or over the phone, something like that. We're going to walk here to the entry door. And we're going to talk about some switches here right inside the entry door. So we have your slide outs labeled here. Now, the sequence of bringing these slides in is important. We want to bring in the driver and the passenger side first, and then the rear. Reason being is because of the way that they close in, we don't want them to potentially drag on each other. So again, the sides come out first and then the rear. And with all of these, once you reach that position, they have an electric brake on them once we reach that outward position or the inward position, and they will stop. So again, just remember that sequence. Driver side in first, or out first. So, and then we have your entry light. Gives you a light that you can hit if you're coming in to the unit at dark. Makes things nice and helpful. And then we have your awning in and out switch here, and we can see that awning come out. And if we stop, take our hand off the switch, the awning does stop. So you can choose how far you run it out and or in. So very straightforward there. It goes without saying that these awnings are designed for very light wind. They are very much designed for a clear, sunny day. Not something that you want to like leave out or leave the campsite with it out or something like that. So just keep that in mind. We're going to hop on the inside, start going over that stuff further, and we'll see you in there. So here on the inside, we're going to start, of course, on the entry door, kind of work our way around the inside and try and cover as much of it as we can, as best as we can. So right inside the door, we, of course, talked about the switches. You do have a pretty cool kind of projector style shade here. That's nice to keep any daylight from coming in the door or give you some privacy as well. To the rear of the unit, we have your jackknife sofa and recliners. We'll demo the jackknife portion of it on the larger sofa, because again, that is a jackknife sofa, but you do have the recliner option, which you got a little pull handle here. That's going to allow that to flip up. Again, once I get out of the way here. Now these recliners, these RV style recliners, they differ from many of the recliners you see in the residential sector, mostly with this portion here. So they lock in that out position. And it's a lot of people try and push down with their legs. What you're going to actually do is kind of use your heel and push in from that direction as opposed to down. So keep that in mind. Also, right here inside the door, we have a piece of safety equipment. It's going to be your fire extinguisher. It does have a little green test tab on the side of it. And again, not sure if you can see this, but if you push that tab down and it springs back, there's still pressure inside the unit. If it stays depressed, it's time to replace, pull out and replace. So test your safety equipment, your fire extinguisher and your carbon monoxide LP leak detectors and your smoke alarms every time you take the unit out. Coming in here, of course, we have your shades, your large windows. These are friction shades. So they are just as easy as pulling up or down. Table. This table is probably endlessly positionable. Down here on the underside, and it's you have these little guys here, and they keep everything held in place for the table. So if we loosen those up, we can really put this in different positions, and then once we're satisfied with the location, we can lock it down in there. Now I'm going to kind of lock it in this outward position here, because we want to go ahead and jackknife the sofa. You also have a relief here, because this is telescoping. So if we pull that relief, and it does take a good amount of pressure to push that guy down there. And this is what they call a coffee table position. Now you can imagine that if we weren't fully locked in, we could go ahead and kind of move that out and give it kind of more of a coffee table kind of feel. Now I do believe that the table is in the down position for the jackknife, and we're going to find out pretty quickly if I'm right or wrong by trying to jackknife it. So when we're folding this out into the bed, you get a nice firm grasp here from the front, and you lift up, and it almost kind of goes back, and it does look like the table is interfering into that. So probably best case scenario, believe it or not, is going to be having the table in the up position and then pulled forward. That would allow that to fold down slightly better, and we'll see that here. So if I do that guy there, and then again we loosen these up, bring that forward, that's going to give us more than enough room to go ahead and lay this down. So I think that's kind of more what they have in mind with that. So, cool. Moving on. A lot of stuff going on underneath this cabinet here. We have your outside light switches as labeled. So we have a porch light out there. We have an area light. So underneath the wings of each side of the camper, they have a nice LED light that really does a fair job of lighting the foot space around the camper, which is nice. We have your awning light as well. Again, corresponds with a light LED light strip within the awning to help light that kind of patio space. And then up above, we have your convenience center, courtesy panel. Goes by many names, although they all pretty much function the same. So this is not only going to be where you turn on your water pump. I'm sure you saw me do that. Of course, lighted switch means it's on. Anytime you're off grid and you're drawing that water up from the tank, that light needs to be on, or that switch does need to be on. We then have your courtesy panel here, and the lights here correspond with the level of full. So this is not only reading your tanks in level of full, but also your battery. So you have low, when it comes to reading the battery, which is that one there, it's reading full, of course. Your battery is going to read full. Anytime you are plugged into shore power, it reads full. To get a true reading, you need to unplug and then test. Now the gauge there is low, fair, good, and charged. So pretty vague, but you know, it doesn't correspond with an exact voltage reading. But keep that, you know, just do your best with that. And then your tanks here, again, fresh water is 2/3 full, black water is empty, gray water is empty, and so on and so forth. Right here in the center, we have your fuse panel breaker box. This is kind of your power center. Everything on the right is going to be an automotive blade style fuse, labeled right there on the door in terms of function. Now, it is definitely my recommendation to pick up a variety pack of fuses, keep them with the unit. Not something you use very often, but as fate would have it, if you do not have a spare, you'll probably immediately need one. And then on the left side of that panel, we have your standard 110 volt light switch style breakers, resettable breakers, very much like at home. And again, they are labeled there on the door in terms of function. So, I'll put that door back on. So, to the right there, starting right here at the rear, we have your, or at the lower corner, we have your solar charge controller. That's going to give you a real-time readout of your voltage, your battery voltage, how many amp hours you're currently taking in over solar, things like that. So it's called a charge controller, although it doesn't offer you much control over the solar system. It is kind of essentially the brains of the operation. You can get information from it, like I said, but other than that, it kind of does work all on its own in the background. So this is going to intake energy as necessary, keep those batteries charged. Once they're full, it's going to stop intaking energy, things like that. So it is kind of all just kind of happens in the background. And then we have your generator switch here. So to start this up, we hold it into the stop or prime position until that light lights up. And then we come here to the start position, and that will allow us to light that up. Again, you know, not uncommon for that to happen when you're lighting it the first time. What that means is generally that it didn't have a good enough flow of propane, and to be honest, I'm not sure if we did cut that propane off when we were on the outside. But what's important is the function on how to use it. So, of course, it's in good working condition. I'll confirm that after the video, but for you, what's important is that you do hold it here into the stop prime position till it lights up, and then come here into the start position and fire that off. Now, if you're having problems with it lighting, or you know, you don't have propane on, do not crank it here for more than 10 seconds. That is what we would consider an over crank. So just keep that in mind. You know, it can take some time. And again, I'm not even 100% sure that I have the propane bottles on the outside. So we'll of course confirm that after this video, but that's how you light it. TVs, both the bedroom TV and the living room TV are going to run off of the inverter. And that is turned on here on the side. So if we turn that on, they're both 110 volt TVs. They only run on the inverter. That's going to give you your information there on the display here in terms of battery and things like that. So just keep in mind that's the way that host does it, is they run 110 volt TVs with an inverter. Of course, you do have open spots on those outlets there. You can utilize that for any other appliance that you may want to run off of the battery in those kind of boondocking scenarios. Up top here, satellite. That's how we turn that satellite on. So follow the service, the service booklet instructions on how to utilize that further. This is that satellite. You may be able to hear it kind of locating up front, but of course you need a corresponding receiver and things like that for that to operate properly. Now what you do have here, and you don't need any further equipment, is your antenna. So this is an always up antenna. What I'd be doing here would be, adjusting it for a better signal. What you're going to be doing is you'll use the signal indicator on the television, and you'll of course set that to the best case scenario and do a channel search. Of course, it's going to bring any digital over-the-air television that may be available there. Well, I'm right here. This is your thermostat. You're going to control your furnace and your air conditioner on one thermostat there. And to do so, that's going to be your mode button here. And it is a touchscreen kind of thermostat. So that first thing you need to choose is your fan speed. If you are whether you're operating the furnace or the air conditioner, you still need to choose a fan speed. So low or high, that fan is going to run indefinitely, whether it reaches its temperature, the thermostatic temperature here, or even if you are trying to run the furnace, if you have that fan on either low or high, that fan here is going to run with whatever else, whatever other mode you choose. So to keep it either with that auto shut off or to just keep it from kicking on when you want to run the furnace, you're going to keep that in auto mode. So we need to again confirm that. And then from there, of course, temperature control here. We are in air conditioner mode there, denoted by the snowflake. And then so of course you can hear that air conditioner running. If we hit it one more time, that's going to take us into furnace mode. And again, once it kind of catches up with what I'm doing, it's going to kick the air conditioner off, kicks that furnace on immediately. Generally 16 seconds after that, it actually ignites. By that 30-second mark, it's producing noticeable heat. And that's it. Doesn't take much energy to control the temperature of a unit of this size. So whether you're using the air conditioner or the furnace, you're going to be in good shape. Again, it does not take much to do the job there. So filters here, they just pull out there. Now they are washable. You can get some use out of those, before needing to be replaced. I'm sure they will probably need to be replaced someday, but just rinse them off in the sink, let them dry, and you'll be good to go with those. One thing that we forgot here is going to be your fan. This should be locked in the locked position when you come to it. So to unlock it, you just pull this down. You should feel a slight click. Once we're unlocked, we're going to go ahead and start cranking it up. Once we kind of in that up position, we can go ahead and turn it on. We have up or down here. That's going to control the fan speed. So it really gets up and goes there once we turn it all the way up. We can reverse direction, so we can pull air in or exhaust it. You do have a thermostat here. You can set that on an auto level. That will, of course, maintain a 78 degree temperature. Of course, when you're going down the road or when not in use, you do need to go ahead and close it. And you turn that handle till it gets tight. You don't need to bear down on it, but once you are fully closed, just go ahead and push that up, and that's going to lock it in. Now down below here, we have your stereo. We also have some chargers here. So starting with the chargers, you have a 12 volt cigarette lighter style receptacle for any 12 volt appliance. And then we have some 12 volt USB chargers for, again, any USB driven appliance that needs to be charged. So those are just charging. So they're not for information for anything or something like that. And then we have your stereo here. Now I call this kind of the multimedia center of the camper. This is going to be CD, DVD, AM, FM radio, Bluetooth. All of those features are going to be utilized right here on this display. Now CD or DVD, you'll just put your disc right there in the slot. It'll pull up those menus automatically. If we go here through AM, FM radio, of course you can hear that radio. It doesn't get any more basic than that. You have your channels there, things like that. What else we got here? Bluetooth mode, you'll hold this pair button here. That'll of course give you that pairing mode, take you through, you'll finish that process up on your phone. Front auxiliary is going to be the USB or the 3.5 millimeter here. Rear auxiliary is of course on the back side of the unit, not one that you're going to be using in this installation. And we should have an HDMI ARC capability there as well. What that HDMI ARC is going to do, if we had the television on or power running to the television, it's going to kick that television on. It's going to sync everything up automatically. What that's going to mean for you is any over-the-air television, anything essentially that you're watching on the television, you'll be able to kind of backfeed this through this like a receiver and play that on the speakers, kind of give you like a surround sound kind of feel. Something like that. It's a very nice feature, especially if it's, the dead of summer, that air conditioner is running full blast. It can be hard to hear this television over that. So that HDMI ARC is a great feature. One thing to keep in mind here, and I guess it doesn't matter which source we put it on, but you do have zones here. So A is going to be the ones in this room. The kitchen area is going to be A. B, if I had to guess, would be the bedroom, and yep. And C is going to be the outside. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is you adjust each volume separate, and pay attention. You kind of always know the new campers out in the campground because they'll be watching something here on the inside and inadvertently broadcasting it outside. So kind of keep in mind, be aware of those zones and where the volume level sits. We have your fireplace here. This is a really, really cool feature. Of course, it has a hard on-off switch. So once we turn that into the on position, we can hit that secondary switch. That kicks it on. Of course, you can dim the level there. And brightness, that's the second button in. Heat has like a little kind of heat strip in there, runs like a space heater. These put out a fair amount of heat, so they're definitely going to knock the chill off the air. And probably for most of the time, this will probably be your main source of heat because it does so without using your propane gas. So it's nice to have that kind of electric heat option. And there's a timer as well. So all you can see here on the inside, that's where you're going to essentially see your modes there on the inside, or what you have on and off. And it does correspond there with that button. So. And I believe this has a remote for it. That'll be in your gear and your owner's manuals and stuff in there. So we're going to hop here into the kitchen, and I guess while I'm down here, we do have a GFI outlet here that is again resetting. Now I would say that this is your main GFI outlet. What that means is all of the rest of the receptacles are going to be tied to this outlet. This is going to be the reset point. So if one of them gets tripped or interrupted, this is going to be the reset point for those outlets. So just keep in mind, you should probably have some experience with these. They are run in most bathrooms at your house. So, and then we have your water heater switch here. Again, like I explained there on the outside, it is a dual source water heater. Runs on 110 volt electricity. That's going to be this switch. Runs on 110 volt electricity. Also runs on propane gas. Now, I see it here. So this red light is going to come on when you try and light your water heater on propane gas. Now this is essentially your indicator on whether or not it has lit on that propane gas side. So you'll turn this switch on. It'll go through its cycles. It generally takes about 5 minutes to run all 3 cycles. And this light will be kind of coming on and off as it's running through those cycles. Ultimately, though, when it does light, it's going to stay off. So if you come back 5 minutes later and that light is still on, you can see it as it's going through its cycles. It's coming on and off. But if you come back 5 minutes later and that light is still on, then that means the water heater has not lit. So it cycles 3 times, and if it does not light by the end of the 3rd cycle, it stops trying. So either you're out of propane gas, maybe you have the valves off, like I'm pretty sure we do now, or you know, oftentimes maybe it just doesn't, the propane in the line hasn't reached the specific appliance. Either way, if that does happen, you come back 5 minutes later and that light's still on, go ahead, turn the switch off, turn it back on, and it's going to recycle another 3 times. Of course, correct the issue, whether it be, you know, no gas or the valve being closed. Correct the issue before recycling, or you're going to, of course, have the same issue most of the time. You can also run both sources at the same time. If we put both of these switches in the on position, that's going to give us the highest recharge rate. 17 gallons per hour utilizing both sources here. Next up in terms of efficiency is going to be standalone gas, looking at 15 gallons per hour on standalone gas. And then electric is going to be 11 gallons per hour and the least efficient, but they are all pretty close. I think the kind of casual consumer would not really notice a difference, but just keep in mind 20 minutes before you want to go ahead and use some hot water to either turn on your source, and as long as you give it 20 minutes, you should be pretty good there. You know, fold out countertops here. These do kind of, they're almost like a little kind of mini card table. They do lock in that out position. So if I try and force that down, it's not going to go down. You have to lift up to relieve it and then kind of push these in and then they come down. So back here is going to access your water heater, and we're kind of jumping around here just as these things kind of present themselves. And let me kind of get onto this side of things here so I can point it out easier. So this is the back side of your water heater. So we've talked about how to drain the system, and we talked about how to introduce antifreeze into the system for winterization and things like that. Now, before we introduce that antifreeze, after we've drained everything, and then before we put the antifreeze in, we want to bypass the water heater. A couple reasons. Number one, we do not want to fill the water heater with 6 gallons of antifreeze. It doesn't need it. 6 gallons of antifreeze is a lot. So not only do we not want to place the product where it's not needed, or make, you know, have you invest more, but also it's a closed system. It can be hard to rinse all of that antifreeze out or be sure that you have gotten it all out of the water heater because you can't physically see the lines to do so. So we're going to bypass the water heater. So you have, and again, might be something that is slightly hard to pick up on camera, but you have 3 valves total down here. One going to the inlet of the inlet of the water heater, and one on the outlet. If you can only see the outlet on camera, just look straight down, you'll see the inlet. So we're going to close both of those valves off, and then we would open this one in the middle. What that's doing is that's creating a loop in the system before it gets to the water heater, and that way we're not putting any of those chemicals or any of that antifreeze into the water heater. So again, that's part of your winterization process. And then kind of further moving around here into the kitchen area. This is where all your kind of bits and bops are going to be: your TV remote, your owner's manuals, your display, secondary remotes, things like that. That's where that's going to be when you get to where you're going. And these drawers, they do lock in that closed position. So once you're fully closed, you can go ahead and push that button in. It's going to lock. You know, sink, stuff like that is pretty straightforward. You know, you got the pool shade there. You know, nothing too crazy with that. Cooktop here. Now this is nice. You have a sparker or igniter on the buttons here, and you do that by pushing each of these knobs in. So if we're lighting it, we would push that in and turn it to light, and then hold that down. Of course, until we saw fire. And you know, pretty straightforward. Once you do see fire, give it like 3 seconds to heat up the thermal coupler, and it should stay lit on its own accord after that. Glass top here, goes without saying that this is just to extend the countertop space. This isn't a griddle. Make sure you cool down the burners or don't have them on before shutting the lid. So we have your microwave here. This is your cooker. It's much more than a microwave. It's a convection grill. It's a kind of like a you know, it has a heating element there, so you can run it like a I'm losing the term, but again, just has a cooktop there. You know, works well for that, and a convection as well, and then a standard microwave. Functions are very much like you would expect on a microwave. If you're running the convection, you need to preheat it to a temperature here, there, and 50-degree increments there. Grill. You have separate, you know, 2 grill settings. One is going to be a standalone heating element on the top. The other is going to supplement some microwaves in there, which is a nice feature. And then roast is just going to again be the heating element there as well. It does have its own service manual. It's super easy to use, and you'll be very pleased with it. It works exceptionally well. So. Again, very microwave-esque in controls, which is not surprising. Refrigerator here, so we'll kind of come down this way, and then we'll probably walk over to the other side in the bathroom and things like that. So here's your refrigerator. You'll come to it. It'll be in the off position. You'll go ahead and push that button there. That's going to go ahead and turn it on. Generally, it's going to kick you right here into this auto mode. On that auto mode, of course, it's going to prefer AC voltage if it's available. If AC voltage is not available or becomes interrupted, it's going to automatically light off of gas. So it's in auto and it's running on AC because we have that available. If I were to run out and unplug the unit, it's going to switch over here to the gas and start lighting it on gas. If it doesn't light on gas, it's going to illuminate this check light. If we want to run it specifically on gas, I can go ahead and push that middle button, and then it will switch over to gas here on the display and start trying to ignite on gas. Now we have your temperature control here, and of course the higher the level, the colder it is. So you have cold and coldest there. So, nothing too crazy with that. Let's look at these door handles here. It goes without saying, to open these, it's just an outward motion. So you kind of pull them out, and that allows you to open them there. We have your smoke alarm here. Is a 9-volt smoke alarm. It'll let you know when it needs to be changed, just like at home. So it runs a 9-volt battery. Test those smoke alarm. Test that carbon monoxide LP leak detector, which is down here on the floor. Carbon monoxide LP leak detector there. Both have test buttons. Both kind of function like like you would expect a smoke alarm. This one runs on batteries. This one does not. So keep that in mind. This one needs to be changed. And then lastly, kind of in this area, one thing to be aware of is they have, and as far as I know, one more thing to be aware of. So they have this, maybe I should have brought this up when we were talking about the rooftop antenna. Now they have all that wiring for the television ran through the wall up into here. This is of course the plug for the TV in the bathroom. But the reason why I'm showing you this is where of course you're going to, those RG6 cable fittings that we saw on the outside, this is where they transition. But even more important than that, for that rooftop antenna, for that to get power, that green light needs to be on. So we talked about directionalizing that antenna and doing a channel search and things like that. That's not going to do you any good unless that green light's on. So that's how you turn it on. It's in this peculiar place inside the cabinet, but make sure that green light's on. So. And we'll kind of come around this way and we'll talk about the bathroom, and then, you know, maybe talk about the bedroom, things like that, although that's pretty straightforward. Your privacy divider here is of course when it's locked in, the shower is blocked, and then if you're using the restroom or something, you just slide that this way, and that gives you, of course, the privacy on that side of it. Further into the bathroom, toilet is here. You have a light press to fill up the bowl, full press to flush. Always recommended to keep some water in the toilet. That's going to help keep those bad smells down. Goes without saying, you're going to need toilet chemical, single ply RV grade toilet paper. All of that is very important. And you may want to further investigate how to use those products, what toilet papers to use, things like that. We're not going to spend too much time on that today. Light switches, and I didn't bring this up, but most of these light switches around the unit are going to be, there's not very many, or if any, switches to control these. So these are all independently controlled. You can see you have the one side or both. So, but nothing too out of the realm here. In the bathroom, ow, pinched my finger. But these are going to be pretty standard stuff. Now, if you can kind of come in here with me, Clint, we're going to actually close the bathroom door, and that exposes the shower here. You kind of run this almost projector style, kind of like a soft feeling shower curtain here. It does have a lock button there. So you press that in, it is labeled there to make it easy to use. Other than that, not much more that differentiates this from any other shower. You do have it on-off there on the head. That's going to help conserve that 6 gallons of water. But other than that, pretty straightforward stuff. Really nothing too terribly much that we do need to talk about here in the bedroom. This is all pretty kind of self-explanatory stuff. You have your light switches here. I believe this is your emergency. No. TV is again going to be on the inverter, but you have your on-off input there. Emergency hatch here, and I don't know if we can get this. You have a single button you push here, and I don't know if you can see that. So if you push that button in, that unlocks this hatch. This is the emergency exit on this camper. This is what they have in mind, is that you're going to exit from the top if your entry door is blocked. So once you unlock it there, you just kind of pull that handle back, and that opens it up. Of course, you have different positions. If you don't want it all the way open, you can do that. If you are doing some stargazing or something, you can go ahead and close that screen so the bugs aren't getting in. If it's Sunday morning and you want to sleep in, you can of course keep that sun from waking you up. And then of course, very, very important, most importantly, when it's not in use, before going down the road, it does need to be fully closed and locked there. Outlets and chargers on each side of the bed. So you have USBs and 110 volt outlets on each side of the bed. All the windows, we didn't really talk about this, although this is pretty, simple. These are, very kind of residential style windows. If you unlock them, then you just slide them open. Make sure that you fully close them and lock them there so you're not getting any intrusion going down the road. That basically covers it. Here on the bedroom, there's again not really too terribly much for us to speak of, and I think we really covered the unit well. If you do have any questions further going down the road or anything that we may have missed that comes up, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We can walk you through most of this stuff over the phone, and we'd be happy to do so. So thank you.